Good morning. We're going to be talking about communication today. And you've all just had some practice at that. So this is my reminder to turn off your phones. And now's your chance to talk a little bit more. Mic is not working? Okay. All right. All right. Good morning. We'll try this again. This is the time to turn off your phones and your chance to greet those of you who haven't spoken to yet this morning. As Reverend Kevin would say, make sure everyone is greeted warmly and well. We'll get back together again in a few minutes, and then Katz will read the land acknowledgement.
We acknowledge that we are residents or visitors on land that was never ceded, never given up by the Nisenan people, who are still here among us despite the fraudulent removal of their federal tribal recognition. We seek to help correct their erasure and exclusion from California history and to support their efforts to stabilize their people. We celebrate with them the upwelling of community support as they seek to purchase some of their ancestral homelands, and we encourage all to support this venture.
A Chalice Lighting for the Dark and the Light by Francis Cozier. May we light this chalice this morning to remind us of the power and beauty of balance and contrast. It is darkness that can make the flame of a single candle so powerful, and light that deepens those shadows in turn. A chalice flame is the meeting point, the union of the refuge, safety, and incredible beauty of the darkness, and the warmth, the assurance, and the joy of the light. May this act of lighting our chalice this morning remind us that we are stronger together in all the complexities and disagreements of relationship, because we are different and because we are one.
Good morning again. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Community of the Mountains. I'm Cheryl Morris, here with Carol Nimick as your worship associates, as we continue with our June theme of renewal. We have not one, but two special guests to help us explore and maybe, just maybe, actually experience a bit of it this morning. One thing that always renews my spirit is a deep, heartfelt conversation, whether with an old friend or a new one. Our speaker this morning, Dr. Jeff Kane, has much to share on the subject of deep communication. His background is so multifaceted, I'm only going to offer a brief summary. A retired physician, he was an associate physician at the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland, chief doctor in an East Bay emergency department, taught philosophy at a community college, also taught yoga, and founded the cancer support programs at Sutter Cancer Center in Sacramento and Sierra Nevada Cancer Center locally. He published a couple of books on the healing relationship, writes a regular column on medical philosophy in the Union, and as a musician, has been part of Nevada County bands Silver Wings and the Elderly Brothers. He also does solo gigs. Oh, and by the way, Jeff was the speaker at the very first UUCM service 30 years ago. According to some penciled notes that Reverend Kevin found someplace, his topic was the medical system, but the details are lost to history. The second person I'm delighted to introduce to you is Alexis Aldrich, sitting at the piano here. Some of you attended a really wonderful concert right here in this room last April to hear the premiere performance of Wolf Creek Anthem, which Alexis composed. It included a really interesting mix of instruments, plus a vocalist, and the audience got to sing along for the grand finale. It was a great evening and a revelation, at least to me, to hear the combination of harp and marimba. Who knew that those two instruments would sound so great together? It's a treat to have Alexis with us, and although before today I'd mostly thought of her as a composer, you will hear she is also a classical pianist of great skill. I also welcome Sue Merrill and Liana as our song leaders this morning. Whether you're with us in the room or on Zoom, whether this is your first service or you've been here many times, let's join our minds and hearts and voices in the spirit of renewal. It's good to be together.
Within the Work of Renewal by Reverend Scott Taylor. Mindful of the precious promise of a new day, we gather again to recommit ourselves to the task of mending, of tying together those tender strands that connect us to each other, the world, and those parts of ourselves buried deep. Within this work of renewal, hope lies in wait. So come, friends, let us begin.
Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. Listen, never forget you. I will never forsake you. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you.
Good morning. Joys and sorrows. So wherever you are on that continuum, if you'd like to come forward and choose a stone and infuse it with what's in your heart, you can also do that imaginally from your seat. Put the stone in the water and allow this community to hold you. You know who said this really well was Ram Dass. He said, all you can do for another person is be an environment in which, if they wanted, they could come up for air. Now's the time. Please come forward. For all the unspoken.
Letting Go of Certainty by Reverend Rebecca Beckett. Let go of the idea that you know what breathing is and should feel like. Just notice the breath as it moves in and out of the body. Let go of certainty. Be with the breath as it is. Allow openness, allow curiosity. Notice the mind, each thought that arises. Allow openness. Don't judge your mind or your experience. Be loving in your curiosity about each thought. Let go of certainty. Let go of any idea about what you should be thinking, accepting your thoughts exactly as they are. Be with yourself as you are. Be curious about who you are. Love. How are you in the world? Gently take a deep breath, maybe a big sigh. Re-enter this present moment and the stream of your life.
It is a pleasure to provide a few introductory remarks for Jeff Kane this morning. I wasn't here at UU 30 years ago when he offered his insights, but our relationship goes back 40 years when he and his partner, Ronnie Paul, settled on San Juan Ridge where I was living. I believe Jeff is here to speak seriously to us today, but I want to acknowledge that he is one of the funniest people I know, and his humor stretches in all directions. Through his love of language, his gift of songwriting, and his twist of perspective that lets in both the light and the shadowy joys of being entirely human. Through the years of our friendship, I've been inspired by Jeff's unique medical career, notable for following his passion to listen, to advocate, and seek out the healing process from within and from one another. One of his time-tested prescriptions of choice, whether for cancer or aging aches, is the healing power of empathetic listening. He has led many medical groups over the years, sharing the potency of asking a well-framed question. Jeff has helped me and many others to understand how we can be healers for one another and find the elixir in meaningful relationships and our place in community. I am so happy that Jeff came to speak with us today.
Good morning. Having heard that introduction, I realized that I no longer need to attend my own memorial. Thank you, Jeff. I mean, that is such a generous, loving introduction. I recognize a lot of you guys, even though I come here maybe every decade, so everybody looks a little older and I have to kind of reframe your face. But it's always great to be here. My own teleprompter. Yeah, 30 years ago I gave a talk here, and if Anita Wald-Tuttle said it was the first talk given in this particular setting, she's right. I mean, Anita Wald-Tuttle is always right. 30 years ago, Ronnie and I didn't have grandchildren. So today, these kids know me only as an old guy. They don't know that I once had dark hair and I was cuter than I am now. What I'm saying is that we necessarily miss important parts of each other. I have plenty of friends who I met earlier in life who I don't know enough about. And if you're like me, you're constantly surprised when you read obituaries and find things that you didn't know about your close friends. Well, you know, I didn't know she had a PhD in astronomy. I didn't know that he hitchhiked to Argentina. I never asked them, they never told me. If I had known more about them, both of us could have had a more textured relationship. But it's not too late. With a little practice and curiosity and a touch of chutzpah, we can know each other more deeply. Our theme this month is renewal, so I want to talk about it through my own fascination, which is communication. Say, I'd like you to feel something that I feel. So I feel it, I refine the sense in my body. I try to come up with a precise description, a verbal description of that feeling, and I send it through the air to you as words. You receive it, you run it through your own natural filters of bias and values and so on, which we all have, and have it settle in your body, and you feel something. Is it close to what I feel? There's no way to know. And it's a wonder, considering this is so much like playing telephone, that we ever even sort of understand one another. I want to thank Cheryl Morris, not only for helping organize this service, but for turning me on to an appropriate quote by George Bernard Shaw, who said, "The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place." And we can do better. We can communicate better once we realize that communication, speaking and listening, aren't just inborn utilities, but they're skills. So can we develop the discipline to say something we've never said before? Maybe even something in us that we hadn't recognized was there. Can we learn to listen more deeply to others, and especially to ourselves? In other words, deeper communication will definitely augment the quality of our life. Who wouldn't be interested in that? So let me go about it with this example. Oh, sorry. You might have thought I brought this for protection, but no. This is a talking stick. It doesn't talk, it only listens. We used it in decades of cancer support meetings as a signifier for holding the floor. It was made by a member named Walt Christian. He was a retired art teacher who found this piece of hardwood. He rounded the top as a head made bald by chemo, and wrapped rawhide around it, red for anger, black for the unknown, and white for hope. And these little things dangling from it, each one of these represents someone in our group who died. And you probably knew some of them. I should tell you something about, well, I'm going to leave this up here so that you can take a look afterwards. Don't dare take it. Even when Walt was bedridden, he would say, "I have good days and I have better days." He was that kind of person. These were extraordinary people who came to these meetings. The cover was made by a woman who was our longest group member. She survived well for 22 years with stage 4 lung cancer. I get to talk and then I forget what I'm doing. So how many hands have held this stick? I don't even know at this point. And how many stories has it heard? I like to think that it records everything and that it will one day be in the Smithsonian Institution. It's become kind of a holy relic, in my mind anyway. Question is, what if we had our own personal talking stick? We shouldn't need a life-threatening illness to have a talking stick. And it's not about the stick, you know that. Before we had the stick, we had a geode that we passed around. A Ritz cracker would work. It doesn't make any difference. It's about an agreement that this is an extraordinary conversation. So in our daily world, How often do we enjoy the opportunity to be fully, non-judgmentally heard? So conversation deepens when we take it seriously. We speak more meaningfully. We expect our listeners in this kind of conversation not to blurt out something that just can't wait or look over our shoulder for someone more interesting to talk to. I began to learn this style halfway through my life when I started listening to patients and their families affected by cancer. Before then, I considered conversation to be transactional, like, how are your kids? Oh, fine, they're all above average, or what are you doing this weekend? Costco, how about you? And we need that too, that light conversation, small talk, banter. It's a way of just staying in contact with each other. All our conversations don't need to be deep. And sometimes a deeper conversation can even be inappropriate. We don't go up to our friend in Briar Patch and say, what's your conception of God? Or have you considered burial versus cremation? We don't do that. It's inappropriate. To have this kind of conversation, we need a special kind of atmosphere. And I like to call that atmosphere sacred. It needs special circumstances, like a beginning and ending ritual, strict privacy, confidentiality, time, and especially tolerance of silence. Kind of sounds like psychotherapy, doesn't it? But it's not. We're not therapists. We're only listening to our friends. We're not looking for a diagnosis. We're not treating anybody. We're exploring each other to expand comfortable intimacy. Expand comfortable intimacy. How often are we with friends where we are completely comfortable, relaxed, and we can say anything we want? And we can hear anything from somebody else without judging it. That's a special circumstance. I just call it profound friendship. So there's talking, and then there's talking. A good place to witness the difference, for example, is in a cancer support group. So imagine someone attending a meeting for the first time. He was diagnosed yesterday, so his life as he knew it is shredded. It's gone. And the chances are huge that he is not bothered by any tumor at this point. He is not suffering from a cancer. He's suffering from his own emotions, his anger, his disorientation, confusion, not to mention effects on his family. So at this point, he's handed the stick, the talking stick. And what does he do? He can't talk. And he passes it on. And I think, okay, well, that's his expression today. I'm overwhelmed. I'm too overwhelmed to speak. So the next week he comes and he holds the stick and he cries. And I think, okay, that's his first draft and his second draft. By the third time, this is weeks apart, he's digested enough of his situation that he begins to speak. And when he finishes speaking, I ask him, so how do you feel about your situation? I don't want to hear about the cancer. I want to hear, how do you feel about this? And he gets angry. He says, well, how do you think I feel? I feel terrible. It means I'm going to die. And that's when the conversation begins. I ask him, how do you feel about dying? And wouldn't you know, everybody gives a different answer. Well, I haven't accomplished all I meant to. I'm leaving the people I love. Who's going to feed my cat? On and on and on. These are expressions of his suffering. This is what he's going through, and it doesn't matter what the source is. Suffering is suffering. Week by week, this man will progressively recognize elements of his suffering and accept them and confront them and learn to adapt to his new situation. This conversation will go on to the rest of his life. If you think there's such a thing as instant healing, like somebody's going to lay their hands on you and suddenly you'll be ecstatic, it ain't going to happen. There's no such thing as instant healing. This goes on for weeks and months and the rest of one's life once you get into it. There was a cartoon in the New Yorker that showed a senior monk instructing novice monks. He said, the path to enlightenment is long and arduous, which is why I asked you to bring sandwiches. So at each meeting, cancer group members predictably reach down a little further with growing confidence in their audience. Saying what they'd previously held in or hadn't even recognized, they learn more about how they see the world and who they are. And as we know, knowledge really is power. New options open for them. They see a wider angle than they saw before. So serious illness can instigate this exploration of our spiritual landscape, but we can embark upon it any time. One great motivator, as I think most of you know, is aging. Those of us who can no longer deny mortality feel especially drawn in that direction. A senior friend told me, I think they're beginning to call our row. I'm older than he is. In the Hindu tradition, some people recognize that they've finished their career, they've raised their family, so they can now devote energy to spiritual growth. We Yankees needn't put on a saffron robe and hit the road with a begging bowl. We can do it at home or in the local coffee house with our friends, sincerely addressing questions like, who have I been? Where am I going? What has it all meant? To paraphrase poet Mary Oliver, what have I done with my one wild life? How, considering my waning time, will I choose to live in this moment? And the most important question is, leaning across the table, what do you think? It's ironic that we know so little about each other, considering that we all have a lot we could say, and frankly, we love to say it and can't stop saying it. For while our mouth speaks, our body speaks a lot more. Sometimes, as we know, the two differ. The mouth, I sometimes think of a ventriloquist model, where the ventriloquist is the brain and the puppet is the mouth. And there's the brain to mouth thing going on. But below the neck, there's a whole other story. So if the mouth says whatever it wants, if you really want the truth, trust the body. Our bodies very often say things we're not consciously aware of. You know that. Think of how many modes of expression the body has. Well, the words, certainly, and words we've chosen not to say. But facial expressions, eye movements, pheromones, twitches, postures, attire, gestures, ornamentation, God knows what else. We are veritable beacons of information, broadcasting continually far more than we realize. I had a psychiatry professor who would put on a regular act for the students. He would show patients into the room and small talk with them for about 10 minutes, and then show them out, and then recite an impressively detailed biography of that person based on what he had seen and felt and heard and so on. And we would bug him. We were kids, you know. We thought there was a secret. We'd ask him for his secret, and all he'd ever tell us was, don't listen to the words, listen to the music. And I had another professor who said, if you listen to patients well enough, they'll tell you exactly what's going on. I don't remember much else from medical school. And it took me 35 years to understand what these people were advising. Call this broadband listening. If I'm to deeply listen, I can't be doing something else. I can't be sitting at the edge of my chair with my teeth gritted, trying to pick up all the signs, because then I'm gritting my teeth. I'm not listening. I have to quiet my drunken monkey, as the old yogis call the mind, because I'm intent on hearing not just your words, but getting your whole broadcast. As you speak with your mouth and your body, what do I hear and also feel in my belly and my breathing, in my chest, my muscles? It turns out the body, all of our bodies, the body is as thorough a receiver as it is a transmitter. So in coming times, feeling more sensitively how the world lands in our body will become essential, because others will increasingly mess with our minds. And you've seen that happen already. From every corner will be meaningful facts, but also information meant to mislead and manipulate us. And being the reasonable folks that we are, and who's more reasonable than Unitarians, we're going to listen to it. And that'll result in no small amount of confusion. We'll be less confident which way to turn. Faking will soon be so artful that I picture signs in front of courthouses saying, sorry, evidence no longer admissible. So where will we go for the truth when Walter Cronkite is gone and we can't ask Mr. Google anymore? There is a way. It's a way that we all use. We've always used it, and we've used it for our most important guiding truths, and that is our body. Consider how you've made your most important decisions, whether to get married, whether to take or leave a job, to move to another city. How did you arrive at a decision? Did you pick up your scientist clipboard and make a list of pros and cons and add up the points? Or did you go to an iPhone app or use a magic 8-ball? No, you didn't. You took in all the information, all the words, the feelings, all the sense impressions, and they go into your whole body and marinate it in your values And out came the algebraic sum, which was a decision based on virtually everything. That's how we do it. That's how we work. We characteristically discern the truths that guide us via the talent already inherent in our bodies. And today, more than ever, we need to get better at it. Don't trust me. Let me call as witnesses the platters. Do you remember the platters? Smoke gets in your eyes. You remember dancing in dim light and you're at a junior high dance to that tune? Those lyrics were serious. They asked me how I knew. Join in. My true love was true. I, of course, replied, something here inside cannot be denied. Something here inside cannot be denied. So much for communication with others and with ourselves. And let me sum it up with a simple four-word takeaway from Fritz Perls, the founder of Gestalt psychology. He said, come to your senses. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Jeff. I have no idea what you talked about 30 years ago, but you've obviously gained wisdom and life experience. Thank you. Let's see. Okay. For our offering today, many of us, I suspect, some of our deepest communications happen right here at UUCM. During services, small groups, social events, or working together on a justice project. And in a different arena, many of us experience deep communication with the animals that grace our lives, whether they share our homes, wander into our yards, or are glimpsed briefly in their wildland homes. Our offering this month supports both UUCM and the Nevada County Veterinary Response Team. The team assists in evacuating, sheltering, feeding, and caring for both domestic and farm animals in a disaster area. 25% of your offering will go to the Veterinary Response Team. If you'd like them to receive 100%, place it in the white envelope in the collection basket. And we have a slide that will tell you additional ways you can give. Thank you for your generous gifts. We dedicate these offerings to working toward deep, honest, and caring communication with all living creatures. Oh my goodness, now see what I told you about Alexis and her playing. Beautiful. So thank you to Alexis. Thank you, of course, to Jeff, Carol, my wonderful associate, our song leaders, the AV team in the back, Paul and Cypress, Eileen online, Shanti for another beautiful altar, our greeters, Lori, Jean, and Carl. I can almost read this. The Kids Connection, Lindsay and Cheryl upstairs. So thank you. It takes many people to make a service. And today, tips and tricks to managing Gmail. I believe Beth is teaching Summer Potluck, June 28th and July 16th here at the church. Really a lovely way to get acquainted. Another potluck, the Pride Family Potluck on Friday the 28th. And yet another picnic. We like to eat. We Unitarians we like to eat. Color Me Human Juneteenth picnic at Condon Park. So lots of things. Oh, and the 4th of July parade, of course, will be marching and no singing meditation on the 4th of July. And of course, look at the website for all the upcoming events and Sunday service information. Our closing song, please rise in body and in spirit as able. Thank you. Our closing words until we meet again from Amy Zucker Morgenstern. May all our hours together be blessed, as this one has been, by open-hearted sharing, learning from one another, and making beautiful harmonies together. And may we greet everyone we encounter with the same acceptance and grateful kinship until we meet again. Blessed be. And now we join in our community benediction. We will carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. See you next Sunday, a celebration of Pride, right here at 10:30.